Crowhill here. Today we review a Marzen and discuss the presidential election. Hey, Pigweed, good evening.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey,
How about some beer and conversation?
Sounds like a great idea. So, what are we drinking?
This is a Marzen from a local brewery here in Baltimore.
All right, Lord Maltimore. That was clever.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good. So, what's on your mind?
Well, what's on my mind is the election. We have a faithful listener who asked us to do an election preview.
Right.
And, okay, let's do it.
All right. How about after we drink this beer?
After we drink this beer, that's right. So this
Not
is...
the whole beer, just try it.
Just try it. So this is Key Brewing, right up the road here. Lord Maltimore Marzen. It's full-bodied copper lager, rich with flavor and aroma, and it has Vienna and Munich style malts.
Well, I would say it is all of those things.
It's the right color.
It's the right color. It is lovely in its maltiness.
Mm-hmm.
It smells great. It's got more...
That's just right down the line.
It's got more aroma. Usually you get hop aroma, but this is malt aroma.
It is, yeah.
And it's very nice.
It's very nice.
What'd you say? Would you give me some ABV on that?
5.8, I think we got here. Yeah, 5.8. No, this is exactly right down the line.
Yeah.
Very, very well done.
It is. 5.8,
Key Brewing.
like that too.
All right. Fantastic.
Yeah. So, look, Kamala Harris is a phony. She has no accomplishments.
Yeah.
She is more incoherent than her boss, who has the excuse of having advanced stages of mental decline.
Yeah.
She cannot answer a question.
She can't answer a question.
The campaign is fake. The supporters are fake.
Yeah.
They're just bust-in fake supporters. There's no substance to her campaign.
Yeah.
She can't justify any of her positions. She is both proud of everything that she's done and wouldn't change a thing, and is the change candidate.
Right. She's just vapid and silly. She reminds me of like the Mean Girls. You know, she's the kind of person who got along in life with a smile and a wink and the assurance that if you cross her, you won't be able to sit at the
Right.
clever people's
Plagiarizing
table.
her book report and
yeah.
getting, and still getting a B+.
Right. And going out with the teacher. And, yeah. I mean, one thing that really hasn't come out in this campaign is how she slept her way to the top. Which
she
is,
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. I guess my point is no one is voting for Harris. If you remove Trump from the equation and just go, you know what?
Well, nobody liked her.
I really think that this Kamala could really, is really going to do things. So
when they had a choice, when there were a bunch of Democrats out there, nobody wanted her.
No, she didn't even make it to her own primary in her state, which she would have lost.
And when it came time to pull the plug on Biden and kick him out, a week before that, the entire Democratic establishment was saying, it can't be Kamala, it has to be somebody else.
Yes, and the media was fond of talking about her dismal approval ratings.
Yes.
Then after defenestrating Biden, now they discovered what a fantastic candidate she is.
So my theory there is that that was Biden's last jab at the establishment. Okay, fine, you're going to kick me out? Fine, I'm sticking you with her. Because when he tweeted that he was dropping out of the race, which is the weirdest thing. Like, no announcement to the country, no
explanation why.
Just I'm dropping out of it, and then immediately endorses Kamala. I think that was his finger in the eye
and
to Pelosi and
to
Obama.
Prevent the party from having some sort of mini primary
and picking somebody else that might have done better than Kamala.
Yeah, because she was probably part of the coup.
Yeah. And apparently Biden and Kamala hate each other. She's talentless. She's vapid. She's got a horrible personality. She's mean. Nobody wants to work for her. No. This is another unreported thing, is her staff hate working for her because she's a monster. Yeah. And there's nothing good. She doesn't have any sensible policies. There's nothing. The only thing good about her is that she's not Donald Trump.
And let me say that I get this. in 2016,
Yeah.
there were 17 Yahoos on that stage. None of them was so abhorrent that I would not vote for them over Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
My mind was made. All of these like last minute voters. I don't even know who these people are.
Yeah.
Who goes through their life like this? I know. I know before the primary starts.
Yeah.
Where I'm going. I think maybe one time I was a little unsure about depending on who they pick, but basically I've already got this figured out. So I was the not Hillary guy.
Exactly. I would have voted for my neighbor's cat before I voted for
I mean, Rick Santorum, Carly Fiorino.
I know. Right?
I would have voted for either one of those.
I know, yeah.
So yes, I get that. So my question is, if nobody's voting for her, you have the not Trump vote.
Right.
Plus the, I don't really pay attention to politics, but it would make me feel good to vote for a black woman vote. So you have...
It's time to have a black woman in the presidency.
Exactly. Right? So you've got I hate Trump plus identity politics. Can that get you to 51?
Plus just the reflexive pull the Democrat lever.
Yeah.
There's that too.
Yeah.
So can those three things together get you to 51? Maybe. I mean, Trump is a very divisive person. And... it's kind of like, this is overstating it, but it's kind of like half the country loves him, half the country hates him.
Right.
And so, there's a lot of people who are scared to death of Trump and think he's a horrible person, and they would vote for a cat over Donald Trump.
But the thing is, most of those people are pull the lever Democrats anyway. So the Trumpiness could move some middle ground people, but it's already, some of it's already baked in. Yeah, right. That you're not voting for, and you're not voting for Trump. But you have the media completely in the tank. All your celebrities. There's your academics, your fake academics.
There's this whole complex that's the media, Hollywood, all the arts, all of established government, the kind of establishment, deep state.
The entrenched
bureaucracy. Yeah. All of those things kind of are all marching to the same tune. And they are all very anti-Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that could be enough. But it's sort of like Biden's falling on his face during the debate. It's anybody paying attention already knew what was going on.
That's the thing that really.
So what I think is going on right now with the Kamala, Anybody who's paying attention already knows all of the characteristics we've talked about. Yeah. It's just that now that now that she's behind in the post, she can't hide in the basement. Yeah. Which is what they were hoping to do, just ride it out. Now she's being forced into the sunlight and having to speak in front of people. And for those who were like, who weren't paying attention, I think they're as unimpressed with her as they were surprised by Biden's decline.
There's a huge amount of my guyism, where people they won't credit any criticism of their person. There are a lot of people who won't listen to reasonable criticisms of Trump. I mean, there are lots of reasonable criticisms of Trump, but there are some people who are so in the tank for Trump, they have to defend him in every possible way. And the same thing happens with Biden and Harris. I mean, Biden was clearly suffering mental decline for the past 4 years. It was obvious, plain as day. But there are a lot of people who are like, no, come on. He's not that bad. Yes, he was that bad. It was very obvious.
It was, if you were paying attention at all.
Yeah, it was very clear that Biden was not all there, and it's very clear that Kamala is all the things we said before.
Empty suit.
And it's very clear that Donald Trump is punches down, that he can be mean, that he can be petty, that he says things that aren't true.
Like you're saying about those that defend Trump, to the end. Yeah, I'm like, fair point. What do you think? Do you think your fair point about the flaws of Donald Trump is enough for me to reverse course? Like, I never thought of that one single time where I agree with you that yes, he's a flawed man, and yes, I wish he hadn't said that, and yes, that's a dumb thing to say. I agree with all of that. You think you've just changed my mind? Like, oh well, I'm all in for
it kind of reminds me of Lincoln and Grant.
Okay.
You know, when people were
you
complaining.
weren't there though.
Well, it was a little before my time. Yeah, people were complaining to Lincoln about Grant. Apparently, he was a drunkard.
Right.
And Lincoln said, "He fights. If I knew his brand, I'd send him a case."
Yeah.
Because all of the previous generals were a bunch of
McClellan.
all those guys were a bunch of wimps, and they wouldn't fight. And Lincoln was like, "Grant fights. I don't care if he's a drunkard. He's getting the job done."
Yeah, that's a good point. That is kind of Trumpian. It's like, There's some
all those things you say.
There are some warts that I'm going to have to just overlook because I agree with the job that he plans to get done.
Exactly. You want to say all those things about Trump? Okay, fine. I will accept all of your criticism. But still, yeah. All right. So then, that kind of brings up. You want me to go through my top issues here?
That you think what? That you think that voters are keen on? Or,
no, these are my top issues for the election. Here are the things that I think are the most important things. We have to stand up to China and restore our military. We have to stop the forever wars. We have to break the power of the deep state. We have to close the border. We have to stop fentanyl. We have to protect the American working class. It kills me that in Chicago, we have Americans who are starving and don't have a place to live, and we're giving all this money and everything to immigrants. That's just absolutely crazy. We have to stop DEI and all the woke BS. The economy is obviously a problem. And then this issue I'm not so positive about, but the whole question about food and agriculture. So to me, those are issues.
But do you think those are the kinds of things that are on the voters' minds to the point where they would sway the election? Or these are what the conservatives are already, or what the conservative argument for why we should be in power?
Yeah, so I think this is the way conservatives view the issues. And then the way liberals view the issues is, number one, stop Donald Trump because he's a threat to democracy and he's Hitler and he's literally the devil. Abortion, economic inequality, climate change, and then this.
I haven't heard much about that this time now.
They
made a bigger deal last time.
Yeah, there is some of it. This whole idea of democracy and voting rights and how they're afraid that Republicans are going to take that away. Their idea of immigration reform, which always means more people coming in. Yeah. And then social justice and equity. So I think that's the left's perspective on the election. And so it's obvious, like if you just look through the topics that I think are the most important, obviously I'm going to vote for Trump. Yeah. Because if you go through that list, who is going to do the things that I want? Trump is, Harris is not. Right. And then if you look at the list from the left's perspective, obviously stop Donald Trump, but Trump has tried to moderate his position on abortion, which I haven't been pleased with. Right. But to try to win over some more middle people.
I get it, though.
Yeah.
All right. Please let me talk about democracy and voting rights.
All right.
So first off, the threat to democracy. I think of two things.
How about jailing your opponent's top strategist? How about that? Is that a threat to democracy?
No, that's just upholding the law because no man is above the law or something like that.
Right.
And the others, why do the Democrats oppose every kind of voter registration law?
Yeah.
And cleaning up the voter rolls.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that there are dead people, foreigners, people who have moved out of town.
Yeah.
I mean, what? So every effort to clean up voter ID.
Yeah. It sounds very much like the husband who's cheating on his wife, who opposes every effort for his wife to know where he is. You know what? Why do you need to know where I am? You know, I'm not cheating.
Snooping around my phone.
Why are you snooping around on my phone? Why are you monitoring my email? Why do you want to know where I was? You know, that's what the left's position on voting rights sounds like. No, we're not cheating. But we're going to go against every single effort to make sure that it's Americans who are citizens who are voting.
Right. Yeah. So Georgia passed some pretty tight voting laws, and they've been pulling their hair out. And what happened? They had record turnout. highest black participation. They have crushed their numbers of mail-in voting and early voting. And what they did is you have to put your driver's license number on your
mail-in voting.
Mail-in voting.
Yeah, well, that sounds right.
So
why not?
So all of these things that are Jim Crow 2.0 have turned out to increase the voting. They cleaned up the voter rolls.
The hilarious thing is when you ask a liberal, why shouldn't you have people have to show an ID? And they'll say, oh, these poor black people in the inner city, they don't know how to get...
racist and condescending.
It's amazing. Oh, they don't know how to get an ID. They're not even sure like where the MVA is or what.
They don't have the money for a free ID.
Yeah, and then you have somebody, a man on the street, go down in like the poor section of Harlem and go up to somebody and say, oh, where's the DMV? Yeah, it's just.
Do you know anybody that doesn't have an ID?
Right. Yeah, no, of course not.
No. I mean, even if the poorest of the poor need to have an ID to get their food stamps.
Yeah. There was a study a while ago about the way liberals speak to blacks and the way conservatives speak to blacks. And liberals speak down when they speak to blacks.
Yeah.
And conservatives do not.
They put their hands on their knees and they go, I'm going to say small words and...
Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So there is a lot of that in all this voter registration stuff. Black people know how to get an ID, for heaven's sakes.
But it's fake.
Yeah.
They know it's a lie.
Yeah.
They know it's a lie, but they want to... I'm not saying that there's orchestrated from the top cheating, but they want to leave the door as open as possible for those on the ground who want to do some cheating.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt about it. I mean, why would you not want
other
to...
reason?
You're worried that one pea-stained homeless guy without a license is not going to vote, so you're not going to secure the election for everybody else.
Okay, now what this raises... I'm sorry to bring back our conspiracy theory topic, but what this raises in my mind is, are the elections really fair? I mean, is somebody pulling the levers and manipulating things?
What is so terrible about voting in the way that Argentina and even France votes, where the person on election night? What's with all of this in-person ID, paper ballots?
Right. What's wrong with that?
And then at 11 o'clock at night, we know who the president is.
Yeah.
Now it's like, wow, Pennsylvania's already said, well, we're probably not going to know for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, so
Florida can do it.
All this new technology is making it worse than it was before, when you could just have a paper ballot.
How about you can... Apparently the technology to get into your phone by using your fingerprint...
Right.
Is that too... I don't want to link your vote to the person, but what you could do, you could have a system where that person has already voted.
Yes.
Could you do it, right?
Yeah. But see, I don't even want that. I
don't either.
I don't want any system that can be hacked. And any of this electronic stuff can be hacked. I want to have a paper backup so that it can be audited, so that when at 11 o'clock at night, all of a sudden you get all the returns from one county, all for one candidate, you can say, hey, wait a minute, something looks fishy there.
So the last time I voted in Maryland, it's a paper ballot. You fill in the slot, you stick it through the slot, and I thought it was going to pop up and say, "Is this correct?" And I would say yes. And I went over and I asked them about it. They said, no. This just makes sure that you didn't vote for 2 people, or that you didn't make a mistake. He said these that are then taken to some other location,
right?
But there is a paper record, so at least there's that going.
Yeah, see, I don't mind the electronic stuff as long as there's a paper backup, so that there's a way to verify it. That's the thing that I think absolutely has to be done. And I'm not confident that I'm going to trust this election, no matter which way it goes. I'm not confident that I'm going to trust that it was done above the board, because there's too much fooling around and silliness going on.
Yeah. I mean, if it, I wish I had the
tell me this: if you were back in Germany in 1933, and you were a poll watcher when people were voting to install Adolf Hitler as chancellor,
Right.
would you cheat to keep him out from being chancellor?
Or would I be more worried about the integrity of the election?
Yeah.
Or getting rid of Hitler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would want to get rid of Hitler.
Yeah.
And so I think the problem is there's been so much of this: Trump is Hitler, Trump is a threat to democracy.
Right.
People will cheat to try to make sure that he doesn't win.
Right, because cheating is not nearly as
Not as
morally
big
wrong.
Exactly, yes.
Right, so yes,
Yeah.
I know cheating and lying is morally wrong, but it's not worse than Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the situation that we're in right now. There's been so much of this rhetoric that Trump is the end of democracy and Trump is Hitler and Trump is all this other kind of horrible stuff that people will, and from one perspective, ought to do whatever they can to keep him from being elected.
Yeah.
And that's why we've had several assassination attempts, and that's why we're going to have cheating in this election. It's inevitable based on the heated rhetoric that we've had.
I saw a chart that looks something like this, where you've got, Trump winning, and then at the very end, there's, what do you know, a 3 a.m. surge
With 100% Biden votes.
With 100% Biden votes. This is the suggestion for this one. Is not that he's going to be down 2% and then all of a sudden get 2.5%. She's going to be down 9% at 3 a.m. and then get 11.5%. It could even be.
Who knows? I don't trust the process. I simply don't.
Well, the votes are still coming in. We have, we're going to be counting votes for 11 days. Mm-hmm. Why are you counting votes for 11 days?
Yeah.
If they're not there on the day, then you get enough people. How many votes are from early voting people are showing up on the day?
Yeah.
And there's so many that you're overwhelmed. You don't have possibly have the staff to count them on that day.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
That's ridiculously bad planning, for one thing. Or you're cheating.
Yes.
So I don't trust the process, and I don't know. Well, I'm going to make a prediction about who's going to win, but I tell you right now that I do not trust the process.
All right. Here's this one. Here's some places where you need a valid ID.
Okay. Yeah, so to board a plane.
Right, to get a prescription.
Yes, right. Applying for a job. Yes. You need several to apply for a job, actually.
Right, yeah. Cashing a check.
Yes, applying for food stamps.
Driving,
getting married.
Adopting a pet.
I mean, for heaven's sakes, it's a cat, right? You have to have an ID. Or buying alcohol.
And so where is a valid ID not required?
Boy, when you're trying to pick the leader of the free world.
Yes, then it's unimportant.
Every other country in the world requires an ID.
Yeah, Middle East, Africa, even places in the Middle East that, even Iraq, when it was in rubble, at least you had to do the purple finger dye.
Yeah, everybody else requires an ID. It's just absolutely ridiculous that we don't require an ID.
Did you hear? All right, so we're gonna get here towards the end.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. The Mark Halperin interview with Tucker Carlson.
No.
All right, you tell me what you think. Because even Tucker Carlson's caught off guard a little bit. He says, I think it will be the cause of the greatest mental health crisis in the history of the country.
I saw that clip. I didn't. Yeah,
I think tens of millions of people will question their connection to their nation, their connection to other human beings.
Yes.
I think will be an enormous amount of access to mental health professionals. He says, are you serious? He says, 100%. I think there will be alcoholism, broken marriages.
Yes.
They think he's the worst person possible.
Yes.
And I think it will cause the greatest mental health crisis in the history of America. He says, Carlson is like, mental health crises often manifest in violence. I think there will be some violence.
Yeah, I think no matter who wins, it's going to be a crisis.
There'll be workplace fights at kids' birthday parties.
Yeah.
Protests will turn.
Right.
Yeah. You'll have people. So Trump is a sign. People will look at their fellow citizens as supporting Trump is a sign of the fundamental evil at the heart of their fellow citizens and of the nation. That's how they view it.
Yes, it is.
You buy all this?
Yeah, absolutely I buy all of this. I think no matter which candidate wins, there's going to be violence.
One of two crises.
Yeah, there's going to be all kinds of trouble. Now, if Trump wins, we can count on Black Lives Matter going back into the streets and burning cities down. We can count on that. That'll be for sure. There's going to be riots. There's going to be women coming out of the woodwork accusing him of things. There's going to be all kinds of lawsuits. There's going to be lawfare. There's going to be resistance against Trump in every way you can conceivably imagine. Now, if Kamala wins, there's going to be something like stop the steal, something like, you cheated, something like...
we're not even talking about you're talking about the reaction of the voters, not the coming full-blown communism that is on its way.
I'm talking about the reaction of the voters. And the right hasn't been as violent as the left has been.
Not at all.
People talk
Not even
about
slightly.
No. People talk about January 6th. Okay, yes, but they weren't burning anything. I mean, there were some violent people there, and I wish they'd taken those violent people and put them in jail. Absolutely.
And instead, but there are people in jail who were caught walking around.
I know there were people
who left when they were asked to leave.
I know exactly. But then everybody who was burning down cities in Minnesota under Tim Walz,
you gotta understand.
Yeah, I know. And then Kamala Harris was trying to spring them. So yes, there will be violence from both sides. The left is usually more violent than the right. That's just a fact if you look about what's happened over the last 10 years.
Of course.
So no matter who wins, the other side will be hair on fire crazy.
So so the summer of 2017, I said to you, all right, look, we've had a 6-month temper tantrum. Mm-hmm. They can't possibly do this for 3.5 years, can they?
They did.
They did?
Yeah. And it came in multiple different forms.
Russia.
There was the Russia stuff. There was the lawsuits. There was the hostility in the media, and there were riots and protests and all that. I mean, it came every level of the Democratic Party resisted Trump in one way or another.
Yes.
And if he gets elected again, do you think it's going to be worse?
No. Maybe.
It's going to be much, much worse. Yeah, and Trump, the only thing he can do is bring in Vivek Ramaswamy and say, okay, I want you to fire 80% of the federal workforce. But that's not going to happen. It's never going to get through. Somehow, some circuit court will strike it down or something.
I know. Didn't Musk? Well, no, Musk is going to cut costs. Didn't he? Didn't he get rid of like 80%?
Twitter
of Twitter, and it's more successible than ever.
And that's not more successful than ever, but it's running fine without all those people.
Yeah. And I mean, to have him come in as the efficiencies are and just start slashing.
Yeah,
I would love it, but yes, they're right. But there will be federal resistance to. Fire to what? To firing useless people? Is there a right to have a job in the federal government?
Apparently,
just because you. Well, yeah.
So
right.
What do you think? What do you think of the polls? Do you have any feeling about the polls and where things are?
I'm a big Ben Shapiro fan, but the fact that he spent the last 3 months spending the first 30 minutes of every single show examining the polls, I find it tedious.
I find it not only tedious, but I find it stupid because I don't think the polls are reliable.
No.
And so the polls, there's a lot of reasons. One is there's been a dramatic decline in response rates to the polling. So they're not as representative as they used to be. There's huge sampling bias when they they don't poll everybody. What they try to do is find people who are representative of certain groups and they poll them. And there's a huge problem with sampling bias. There's also the problem of distrust. Trump supporters don't trust the pollsters and they don't answer the questions. There's a shift from landlines to cell phones, which is a big problem because people don't answer cell phones if they don't know the number, right?
I ignore 20 calls a day.
Me too, yeah. And then the online polling has shifted things a lot. It's much harder to identify likely voters now than it used to be. So all these things taken together, Trump always underperforms in the polls.
Yeah.
By many percentage points. So I don't trust them.
Yes, but I'm hoping that there was so much egg on face in 2016 that they have realigned, that they've taken all of this into consideration.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that they have tried.
Because we've almost lost all credibility here. Yeah. We got to do better next time.
No, I agree. I think a lot of the pollsters realize that, and they've tried to adjust. But I think a lot of these other factors, if Trump supporters simply won't answer polls, what are they going to do? There are certain things they can't fix, and I think that's one of them. I would not answer a poll. If somebody called and asked me to, I just wouldn't participate. Uh-huh. So, yeah. All right, so you want to make some predictions?
Yes, I am calling for a conclusive Trump win.
Yeah,
he's like, we have to win at such a margin that even the cheating won't flip a state.
Yeah, so I agree. I think Trump will win by a substantial margin. I don't think it'll be a landslide, but I think it'll be a substantial win. And but I think one of the main reasons for that is for all the bad things that everybody has to say about Trump, which I don't necessarily agree with. I don't necessarily disagree with. Trump is a known evil, and Kamala is an unknown evil, right? Like, people look back on the Trump years and they say, look, he didn't become a dictator for life. He didn't arrest.
I always feel like, gosh, if there was just some way to, look into the future and think, what would this man do if he was president? How could we possibly know?
Yeah.
Well, are you older than 4 years old?
I know. Did he put Hillary Clinton in jail? No, he didn't.
The massive rounding up of homosexuals or whatever.
I know. All this crazy stuff they're talking about. He didn't do any of those things.
It almost made all of that hysteria made more sense 8 years ago than it does now. It's like, what are you talking about? Were you alive?
Yeah.
4 years ago?
Exactly. It would be like right now if we were to say, oh no, if Joe Biden became president again,
you don't know what he would do.
I know you would. No, we know exactly what he would do. Right. So I think Trump is a known evil and Kamala is an unknown evil.
Well, partially, barely unknown.
She's a bit of a she changes her opinions on things, with the wind.
But she did say she would change nothing.
Yeah.
Which is the worst answer ever.
Yeah. I know. She's just dumb.
She is. I don't want to. Maybe we'll make this a short story later. I've changed my opinion of people in power. I've given them too much credit over my lifetime. I've assumed that if you're in a position like that, you must be smart.
Yeah. No, they're not.
No.
No, they're not.
I'm telling you, it can't be the case, and it can't be the case that you know what, she just has a tough time expressing herself in front of a microphone, but boy, alone she's that's impossible.
No, there are some of them who are very smart. Nancy Pelosi, despite stupid things she says, is actually very smart and very effective. Mitch McConnell is very smart and very. Right. There are some very smart people there, but there are also a lot of just plain dopes.
Yeah, no, I'm yes. Well, I guess in that sense, what you're saying, I'm talking about like the middle manager.
Yeah.
Not the middle manager, the upper management, but before you get to vice president, CEO, these guys are smart. Mm-hmm. The guys who are bosses, especially, this is private sector.
Yeah.
Think about the government. Mm-hmm. People who are bosses in that lower to mid range, lower to high range, not so smart necessarily.
No.
They could have just.
A lot of people.
They could have failed up. They could have just like, well, you can't. We're this government. We can't fire him, but I don't want him in my department.
Yeah.
So let's give them a raise. So they move him to somebody else's department. Now they're in charge of people and just got a 25% raise.
They could have slept with Willie Brown.
They could have slept with Willie Brown.
Yeah,
so,
right.
No, I don't know.
Yeah. So okay. So that's my prediction. My prediction is Trump wins decisively.
And hair on fire ensues.
And absolutely hair on fire. Catastrophe afterwards, no question. It's going to be a scary time.
But I think he's not going to be as nice as he was last time.
No?
I think heads will roll.
Yes,
I think there will.
I think
between Ramaswamy and Musk,
And J.D. Vance. I mean,
and J.D. Vance, you are going to see people losing their jobs at the highest levels. Because who cares about the lower
But they're going to fight back. They're going to fight back. So it's going to be a very scary time. There's going to be a lot of craziness going on. However, that's my prediction. No. My wish.
Let's hear it.
My wish is Trump wins.
Yes.
And then, like 2 weeks after taking office, he says, "Okay, I've been vindicated. You know, I've won. Now I'm going to resign. Now I'm going to resign and go play golf and let J.D. Vance take over." That's my wish. That's not going to happen.
That's not bad. But I would give him. I would let him be Hatchet Man first. Right? What's his catch line?
Yeah.
You're fired.
Yeah, there you go.
I would give him 6 months
to fire everybody.
Okay. And then J.D. Vance doesn't have to be that guy. And frankly, he's not going to be as good.
Yeah.
Trump is going to be the guy who knows who's got to go. Milley, everybody above Colonel.
Everybody would breathe this huge sigh of relief.
Like,
the evil orange man is gone.
Yes. This guy can't be worse than that. And then, is there an automatic vice president, or does he get to appoint the vice president?
So I'm pretty sure what happens is if the president resigns, then the vice president becomes president, and the vice president is then allowed to propose somebody to become vice president.
But it has to be voted.
It has to be voted on by the Senate. I'm pretty sure that it has to be approved by the Senate. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And the reason I think that is because of a Tom Clancy novel where something like that happened. Right. And Jack Ryan ends up becoming the vice president and then the president.
Definitely.
DeSantis would be the...
We need the Senate anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So
anyway, that's the horrible future.
All right, so we'll do a follow-up, I guess, the week after the
when
election,
we find out how right we were.
See how right we were.
Yeah.
And, like you say, we're either going to be on the slippery slope to communism or...
Civil War.
Yes, or Civil War.
Yes, one or the other. Lovely.
Yeah, lovely.
Great choice. Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.